The softest light drifts across the edges of your awareness, delicate and pale, brushing against the quiet of your mind. Somewhere beyond, a star hums its endless song, a resonance older than memory, and it feels as if it has been waiting just for you to notice. You move along invisible streams of cosmic air, weightless, and the spaces between each star are filled not with emptiness, but with a gentle presence that is somehow both infinite and intimately close. Galaxies rotate in silence, their spirals tracing paths of silver and violet, curves that stretch beyond comprehension. Yet here they are, calm and tender, their vastness settling around you like a slow, warm breath. Each point of light carries its own story, subtle histories that unfold without hurry, and you feel them brush lightly against your own sense of time. There is no urgency, no need to measure. Everything exists in a quiet harmony that is almost musical, but soft enough that it does not demand attention, only acknowledgement. Nebulae glow faintly in the distance, clouds of dust and gas that shift imperceptibly, their forms sculpted by forces older than thought. They are neither harsh nor distant. They are patient, as if the universe itself is breathing gently and you drift with it. The light that passes through them carries whispers of creation, of slow collisions, and the gentle folding of matter into shapes that will never be repeated. You feel the stillness between these shapes, the spaces that allow them to exist. And there is a warmth in that stillness, a calm understanding that everything has its place, even in silence. Somewhere far ahead, a cluster of stars pulses faintly, a heartbeat of warmth in a cold expanse. You do not reach it, but the sense of its presence lingers, a soft companion on this slow journey. Time stretches and curves, no longer pressing against you, but flowing like a river that knows no bounds, carrying each moment with gentle patience. You sense the distance between here and there, yet it is not a separation. It is a rhythm, a pattern of motion that invites you to simply exist within it. Darkness itself becomes luminous, not a void, but a canvas for the faint, infinite lights that wander across the universe. You notice the quiet hum of cosmic radiation, a subtle vibration that underlies all movement, a gentle reminder that the universe is alive, not in a loud or demanding way, but in the softest pulse of existence. It brushes against the edges of thought, softening them, letting the mind drift without expectation or concern. Galactic winds flow unseen, carrying particles and light across vast distances, shaping structures with a patience older than any human understanding. Their motion is imperceptible, yet you feel it in the spaces between stars, a delicate guidance, a slow unfolding that touches everything it passes. There is no hurry in this, only the slow grace of time and space intertwined, a dance that is not for you to lead, only to witness quietly, with calm and reverence. And yet, amid all this immensity, there is a gentle intimacy. The human mind, resting softly within its body, seems to resonate with the vastness, like a single note echoing within a cathedral of light. The knowledge of how small, how fleeting is not frightening, but comforting. There is room here for all thoughts to expand, to soften, to melt into the flow of something greater, a vastness that never demands, only allows. Stars flare briefly and then fade, as if acknowledging your presence without fanfare. Their light travels for ages before reaching your attention, and in that delay there is a gentle lesson of patience, of the slow unfolding of things beyond comprehension. Every photon is a traveler, and you move alongside them, not in haste, not in concern, only with the gentle awareness of motion and presence. Clusters of galaxies drift past, some glowing faintly, some nearly invisible, yet their weight is felt in the curvature of space itself. There is a softness to their gravity, an embrace that is not tight but wide, not constraining but enveloping. It is a quiet reminder that even in vastness, there is order, a rhythm that is invisible but deeply perceptible to the calm mind. And within this endless motion you feel the slow unfolding of creation, a gentle whisper of forces shaping, guiding, and releasing. Time and distance lose their harsh edges. There is only flow, only drift, only the soft, inevitable beauty of what is. The universe is neither loud nor insistent, yet it speaks in pulses of light and waves of energy, in the calm geometry of spirals and spheres, in the delicate dance of matter and emptiness. And you hear it softly, without effort, as if it has always been speaking, and you have simply now begun to listen. The silence is profound, yet not empty. It carries the memory of explosions, of formations, of countless interactions that have played out over ages. Each whisper of light holds traces of these moments, gentle residues that brush past your awareness. They are not reminders of time past, but of time held, suspended, offering a sense of continuity and belonging, an unspoken comfort that all things have their space, all things have their flow. And as you move, unhurried, between the vast filaments of dark matter, you sense the edges of the known and unknown. The universe folds in on itself in ways unseen, shaping realms beyond perception. Yet the feeling of their presence is there, a soft vibration at the edges of thought, an awareness that there is more than can ever be contained. You rest in that awareness, letting the mystery extend, expand, carrying you forward gently, endlessly, and within that soft vibration there is a sense of alignment, as if every particle, every wave, every drifting fragment of light is participating in a quiet choreography that stretches far beyond the limits of perception. You move with it, not steering, not choosing, simply flowing, carried by the gentle current of existence itself. The dark stretches between galaxies are not empty, they're filled with possibilities, the faint glimmer of potential, like the quiet pause between notes in a song that has no end. A distant quasar pulses faintly, its light steady yet subtle, washing over the edges of thought with warmth rather than urgency. There is a calm intelligence in its glow, neither demanding nor aloof, simply present, a marker of persistence across unimaginable spans of space. You notice the way its radiance interacts with the surrounding void, bending softly, blending with the delicate sheen of interstellar dust, and it feels familiar in a way you cannot name. Nebulae stretch their fingers outward, delicate clouds of hydrogen and helium that ripple imperceptibly, moving in currents that have no beginning or end. The colors are faint but infinite, in-depth soft violets, muted blues, whispers of gold that touch the mind in quiet, unhurried waves. The shapes shift almost like slow breathing, expanding, folding and dissolving, yet nothing is lost. Everything remains, carrying its own gentle history across the canvas of space. A comet drifts past in the distance, its tail trailing a pale ethereal light, brushing past star fields like a slow caress. You feel its motion more than see it, a subtle shift in the surrounding energy, a delicate disturbance in the calm, as though even the smallest movements are noticed, acknowledged, woven into the fabric of everything that surrounds them. There is no rush, no urgency. There is only the quiet affirmation that all motion, all matter, all light exists in harmony, each particle and wave softly resonating with the next. The vastness of intergalactic space stretches beyond any measure, yet there is an intimacy here, a closeness that is not physical, but felt in the stillness. The distances do not isolate, they cradle. You sense the patience of light as it travels, unhurried, carrying fragments of distant histories, brushing past invisible boundaries and settling gently, like a whispered note that lingers long after it is played. Dark energy pulses faintly at the edges of perception, subtle yet undeniable, shaping the expansion of everything without force or clamor. It is a quiet architect, moving without intention, guiding without direction, and you feel its presence as a soft pressure, a gentle suggestion of movement that does not demand attention, only invites you to drift alongside it. In this flow, there is no past, no future, only the continuous unfolding of now, stretching outward in all directions, limitless and tender. Clusters of stars glimmer faintly, each a tiny hearth of warmth in the cold vastness, their light traveling across eons to brush against your awareness. You feel the slow hum of their presence, the gentle weight of distant suns folded into the space between, carrying quiet stories of formation, of fusion, of slow, eternal patience. Their radiance is a soft rhythm, a heartbeat, not of urgency but of timelessness, and you drift along that rhythm, weightless and unhurried, a single note in the subtle symphony of the cosmos. And the spaces between these lights are alive with subtle motion, imperceptible yet profound. Gas and dust, once scattered by ancient forces, now settle into delicate arcs and curves, forming patterns that are neither random nor deliberate, only graceful. You sense their presence as a soft backdrop to the brilliance of stars, a quiet reminder that everything is interconnected, moving together in a slow, almost conscious ballet. Time itself feels different here, malleable, softened, stretched into a gentle current. Moments drift past without urgency, folding over one another like waves, overlapping yet distinct. You feel yourself entwined with that current, neither ahead nor behind, simply moving with the universe, your mind expanding in gentle pulses that echo the distant, patient motions of galaxies. A faint glow traces the edge of a distant spiral galaxy, light bending softly around unseen curves, carrying warmth that feels both ancient and immediate. You do not approach it, yet you feel the subtle pull, the quiet resonance of energy traveling across unimaginable distances, and it brushes your awareness with a tenderness that is impossible to name, but impossible to ignore. And as you continue to drift, carried by the slow, endless flow, the silence itself becomes luminous, filled with subtle vibration and depth, a presence that surrounds you without pressing, enfolds you without confinement, and the vastness stretches outward endlessly, carrying with it the soft, unwavering hum of existence that continues to whisper, to ripple, to unfold, and you drift, carried by currents of light and shadow that fold gently around one another, a soft, endless layering of presence and absence. The subtle glow of distant stars traces patterns you cannot name, yet their warmth brushes lightly against your awareness, as though even across unthinkable distances, they have reached out to touch you. The void itself hums quietly, a low, steady vibration that underlies every motion, every shimmer, every pulse. And it seems to resonate with the rhythm of your own breathing, slow and even unhurried. Clusters of galaxies stretch across the horizon of your mind, their spirals folding into one another with infinite patience, tracing arcs that will never repeat. You sense the gentle pull of gravity weaving through them, not as force or constraint, but as a soft embrace, a delicate shaping of motion that allows all things to exist in harmony. Light bends and curves subtly around invisible forms, casting faint shadows that are softer than memory, and your awareness moves with them effortlessly, tracing each curve, each soft bend. Without thought or effort, a comet's tail drifts faintly through the emptiness, a narrow ribbon of icy particles catching fragments of light that have traveled for untold ages. You feel its motion more than see it, a gentle disturbance that carries itself across the void with quiet dignity. The warmth of that motion lingers, brushing against the calm spaces between galaxies, reminding you that even the smallest travelers leave traces, subtle currents that ripple across the vast, slow expanse. Nebulae float in layers of whispering gas, their forms folding slowly like silk in a silent breeze. Hints of rose, lavender, and gold merge and dissolve in ways that are neither abrupt nor chaotic, only deliberate in their infinite patience. You sense the deep quiet in their motion, the soft persistence that allows structures to form, to drift, to fade, and it touches something deep within, a calm recognition that even in vastness, there is rhythm, and in stillness there is gentle motion. The edges of unseen black holes ripple faintly, with energy you cannot see directly, a presence that is felt rather than observed, shaping the surrounding space with subtle insistence. It is not alarming, only profound, a reminder that even in the unknown, there is balance, a slow, measured folding of forces that is at once mysterious and strangely comforting. You sense the pull, not as tension but as alignment. A gentle urging that draws nothing in haste, wholly allows existence to flow around it. And you flow too, along invisible contours, unhurried, weightless. Dark matter threads weave through the void, imperceptible yet deeply present, anchoring and connecting distant structures in patterns that are only felt, not named. Your awareness moves alongside these threads, sensing the quiet structure they provide, the invisible architecture of everything that drifts around them. There is a calm in this realization, not of understanding fully, but of resting in the knowledge that even what cannot be seen has its place, its gentle effect, its own subtle beauty. Stars flare in the distance, brief bursts of warmth that touch the edges of perception and then fade, leaving only the memory of their light, lingering softly in the folds of space. You feel their presence in a way that is not visual, but emotional. A subtle echo of energy traveling across vast distances to brush lightly against your awareness. It is as if the universe itself is breathing, each flare a soft exhale that carries with it patience, endurance, and the quiet dignity of persistence across time and space. And between each flare, between each drifting particle, the silence stretches rich and deep, not empty but resonant, carrying the weightless hum of existence. You rest in that silence, moving with it, letting it fold you gently into the rhythm of the cosmos. Galaxies, nebulae, stars, comets, and the faint traces of forces unseen move around you with infinite calm, and your awareness drifts further, carried on currents of light and gravity, folding softly into the endless expanse, touching points of brilliance that continue to shimmer and whisper and unfold, and it unfurls slowly like a vast tapestry of light and shadow, each thread drifting without haste, each glimmer folding into another with effortless grace. The faint hum of distant quasars brushes past you, gentle vibrations that ripple through the fabric of space, carrying with them a sense of continuity, a quiet reassurance that motion and stillness exist together, balanced and infinite. You drift alongside these pulses, weightless, unhurried, feeling their resonance extend into the spaces between galaxies, folding the void into soft, tangible presence. Nebulae stretch across the horizon, their delicate clouds folding and curling in colors that shimmer just beyond the limits of perception. Hints of gold, rose, and violet weave together, imperceptibly, blending and separating with the slow patience of eons. You sense the motion of gas and dust, gentle currents that fold upon themselves, creating forms that are neither fixed nor fleeting, only lingering, softly persistent, touching awareness in ways that are intimate and impossible to name. A distant spiral galaxy spins quietly in the void, its arms tracing soft arcs through the darkness, curling gently around unseen centers. Light flows along these spirals, a slow and patient migration that bends space subtly, without effort, without urgency. You move along its edges, tracing the imperceptible curves, sensing the pull of its presence, the delicate balance it maintains. A quiet grace that carries across unimaginable distances and still reaches you as warmth, as rhythm, as gentle motion. Comets drift across the void, their tails streaming faintly behind them, catching fragments of ancient starlight and scattering them like delicate whispers. Their motion is imperceptible, yet persistent, a reminder that even the smallest travelers leave traces that ripple across space. You move with them, flowing alongside currents of light and gravity, sensing the subtle alignment of forces that guides them without haste, without demand. A slow choreography that has played for countless eons. Clusters of stars glow faintly, each one a tiny hearth of warmth, radiating light that travels for unimaginable spans before it reaches the edges of awareness. Their glow carries the memory of fusion, of energy transformed and released, yet it does so gently, without insistence, simply as presence. You feel that presence wash softly over consciousness. A quiet affirmation that everything endures in its own rhythm, that even the faintest light has its moment, its influence, its gentle persistence. Dark matter weaves silently through the universe, invisible yet profoundly felt, shaping galaxies, guiding the slow arcs of motion, providing subtle structure that holds the vastness in quiet coherence. You sense its threads as gentle guidance, a soft architecture that enfolds everything it touches, not constraining, not pressing, only holding space, allowing flow, and you drift alongside it, weightless, moving with the patient rhythm of the cosmos itself, and the spaces between, the deep, endless voids, are luminous in their stillness, carrying faint vibrations of energy, echoes of formation, whispers of distant phenomena. It is a silence that is full, rich, embracing, neither empty nor hollow, but resonant with the history and continuity of all that exists. You drift within it, along the currents of stars, along the subtle flows of unseen energy, tracing the slow, graceful arcs of nebulae, brushing past the pale glimmers of distant galaxies, carried endlessly, gently, by the infinite unfolding of space, and it unfolds without haste, a continuous drift of light, shadow, and subtle warmth. Each particle, each ray, each ripple of energy moving in a slow, unbroken conversation with the space around it. The gentle pulse of distant stars brushes your awareness softly, faint and steady, carrying the weight of countless years without pressure, without expectation, simply existing, simply present. You glide alongside that pulse, a quiet participant in the endless movement, feeling the rhythm of the cosmos seep into the edges of thought, softening them, stretching them, letting them flow without end. Nebulae curl and fold in silent waves, clouds of gas and dust tracing forms that are at once immense and intimate. Their colors are subtle, almost imperceptible shifts of violet, amber, and muted gold, blending and separating in a dance that has no urgency, only infinite patience. You sense the motion, the quiet currents that fold through them, guiding their evolution with a gentle inevitability, and it feels like a slow exhale, a relief, a softness that passes through the mind as a balm. A spiral galaxy rotates somewhere far beyond, its arms extending outward with delicate curves, light flowing along them in arcs that bend subtly under unseen forces. You follow those arcs, feeling the pull not as tension but as gentle alignment, a harmony that carries across unimaginable distances, touching perception with a calm, unspoken intimacy. The energy within its spiral hums softly, a low resonance that is felt more than heard, like the subtle vibration of a heartbeat in the silence of a vast room. Comets drift in elongated paths, tails streaming faint icy filaments across the void, catching fragments of light that have traveled for ages. Their motion is patient, almost reverent, leaving trails that dissolve slowly into the surrounding emptiness. You sense their passage, a quiet disturbance in the vast stillness, a reminder that even in the largest scales, the smallest movements matter, ripple outward, and fold gently into the flow of everything else. Clusters of stars form soft, glowing patterns, each one a delicate warmth in the cold vastness. Their light travels without urgency, brushing against unseen structures, casting faint, luminous traces that linger in the spaces between. You feel that warmth fold around awareness like a gentle tide, subtle and steady, neither bright nor overwhelming, only present, a reassurance carried across unimaginable expanses. Dark matter threads weave unseen through the universe, subtle yet undeniable, shaping arcs and folds in space with a patient hand. You sense them as a quiet alignment, a soft scaffolding that allows light, matter, and motion to drift in harmony. It is not forceful, not directive. It is an invisible embrace, a gentle architecture in which everything finds its place, and you move alongside it, carried in its calm, weightless currents. The spaces between galaxies, the deep voids, are not empty. They vibrate faintly with the echoes of formation, collisions, and migrations, too slow to perceive, yet their presence is palpable, a soft hum beneath perception, a quiet foundation for all motion. You rest within that hum, tracing the subtle arcs of nebulae, floating past the dim glimmers of distant stars, carried forward by currents that are invisible but profoundly present, soft, unhurried, and endlessly folding into itself, a quiet current of presence that moves without beginning or end, carrying light and shadow, warmth and stillness. Across the immeasurable stretches of space, the faint pulse of distant quasars reaches you like the softest vibration, brushing gently against thought, threading through awareness with the subtle insistence of continuity. You drift alongside it, carried not by force, but by the patient flow of everything that exists, weightless, unbound, aligned with the infinite rhythm of motion and rest. Nebulae drift lazily, their clouds folding in slow, deliberate ways, soft filaments of gas and dust curling over one another like whispered exhalations. Colors shimmer quietly, delicate violets and pale golds bending and dissolving in ways that are at once transient and eternal. You sense the gentle currents that move through them, the imperceptible folding and unfolding, the patient shaping of forms that exist without urgency, and it settles around the mind like a warm, unfurling sigh. A distant spiral galaxy rotates, its arms tracing gentle arcs through the void, light gliding along them in waves that fold around unseen centers. You move with those arcs, not reaching, not holding, only existing in harmony with their slow, eternal spin. There is a subtle pull, not of gravity, but of alignment, a soft resonance that touches awareness in a way that is intimate yet vast, a reminder that even across unthinkable distances, there is connection, rhythm, a slow unfolding grace. Comets trail faint ribbons of ice and dust, streaming through the void with quiet dignity, catching fragments of starlight and scattering them in delicate, shimmering traces. Their paths are patient, unhurried, and you feel their motion as a subtle brush against the surrounding emptiness, a ripple that folds gently into the larger flow. Even the smallest movement carries weight here, carried forward softly, touching the edges of other presences in ways that are felt rather than seen. Clusters of stars blow in delicate arrangements, each a tiny hearth of warmth that has traveled countless spans to reach the edge of perception. Their light is soft and steady, brushing lightly against the fabric of surrounding space, a gentle affirmation of persistence, continuity, and quiet endurance. You move alongside that glow, folded into its rhythm, carried by its faint warmth, feeling the slow, steady hum of energy that underlies even the most distant points of brightness. Dark matter weaves imperceptibly through the vastness, an invisible architecture that shapes and supports the motion of everything visible, guiding the slow arcs of galaxies, the drift of nebulae, the path of comets without insistence or claim. You sense its presence as gentle alignment, a soft scaffolding that holds space in quiet coherence, allowing motion, light, and matter to flow effortlessly, and you drift with it, weightless, moving in harmony with the patient pulse of the universe. The void itself hums with subtle resonance, carrying the echoes of formation, collisions, and migrations beyond awareness, yet profoundly present in their quiet effect. You rest within that resonance, moving softly through the currents of stars, tracing the gentle folds of nebulae, drifting past the luminous arcs of distant galaxies, carried forward by invisible flows that are enduring, soft, and endlessly unfolding, a current without edge, without boundary, carrying with it the soft interweaving of light, matter, and silent motion. The faint hum of galaxies drifts past like a slow, continuous pulse, a rhythm that is neither heard nor seen, only felt, brushing along the edges of thought, blending seamlessly with the quiet, unhurried drift of your awareness. You are neither ahead nor behind, simply moving within it, weightless and unbound, a single presence flowing with the infinite tide of the cosmos. Nebulae curve and fold in slow, deliberate undulations, filaments of gas and dust weaving through one another like silk carried on an invisible breeze. Hints of muted gold and soft violet shimmer faintly in the darkness, shifting imperceptibly as the currents pass through them, creating forms that are at once delicate and enduring. You sense the movement more than see it, a gentle flowing motion that carries the quiet reassurance of patience and persistence. A soft unfolding that has no rush, no goal, only existence in its own graceful tempo. A distant spiral galaxy rotates quietly, its arms stretching outward in curves that fold gently into surrounding darkness, light gliding along them in arcs that seem both infinite and intimately near. You follow those arcs without direction, without effort, sensing the subtle resonance of its motion, the slow hum of energy that threads through the spiral and beyond, touching awareness with a calm intimacy that is neither intrusive nor distant. Comets pass silently, trailing fine, icy streams that scatter faint, ancient light, brushing against invisible currents that carry them along their patient paths. Their motion is almost imperceptible, yet persistent, and you feel the traces they leave, ripples that fold softly into the surrounding space, blending seamlessly with the drift of nebulae, the arcs of galaxies, the quiet pulse of stars. Even across these unimaginable distances, there is a continuity, a harmony that moves with infinite patience and grace. Clusters of stars glow softly, faint beacons of warmth and persistence in the cool expanse, their light traveling vast reaches to fold gently into perception. Each star carries its quiet history, its slow fusion of energy, yet it presents itself not as a force but as presence, a gentle reminder that endurance is silent, unhurried, and profoundly moving. You move alongside that light, folded into its rhythm, carried by its soft warmth, sensing the subtle, steady hum that underlies all motion. Dark matter threads wind through the vastness, unseen yet undeniable, forming a gentle architecture that supports the slow, continuous motion of galaxies, nebulae, and drifting matter. You sense its presence as a soft, guiding alignment, a framework that enfolds everything without pressing, allowing currents of energy and light to flow effortlessly, and you drift with it, weightless, harmonized with the patient, enduring pulse of the universe. And the void itself stretches outward, luminous in its silence, vibrating with echoes of formation, collisions, and the imperceptible shifts that shape the cosmos. You rest within that vibration, moving with it, tracing the gentle folds of light and shadow, brushing past the delicate arcs of nebulae carried alongside distant galaxies, floating in currents that are invisible yet profoundly present, soft, unhurried, and endlessly flowing, a gentle current that carries light, shadow, and the faint warmth of distant stars across immeasurable stretches, folding softly around itself, shaping a rhythm that has neither beginning nor end. The subtle hum of cosmic energy moves through the vastness like a slow, continuous sigh, brushing gently against the edges of perception, weaving through awareness with the delicate insistence of presence. You glide alongside it, not steering, not choosing, simply drifting, weightless, attuned to the soft, eternal pulse that threads everything together. Nebulae stretch and curl in waves of quiet motion, their clouds of gas and dust folding over one another in patterns that shimmer softly, almost imperceptibly. Hints of amber, violet, and muted gold shift and dissolve in ways that feel both fleeting and infinite, a slow dance that leaves traces without claiming them. You sense the currents that move through these clouds, subtle, patient, shaping forms that exist with gentle inevitability, touching awareness like a warm, unfurling breath. A spiral galaxy turns far beyond, its arms arcing gracefully through the darkness, light gliding along them in gentle waves that fold around unseen centers. You follow the curves without direction, without concern, feeling the subtle pull of its motion, a quiet resonance that hums through space and into the mind, intimate yet vast, a soft rhythm that aligns with the gentle unfolding of everything around it. Comets drift silently, trailing narrow, icy streams that catch the faintest light, scattering it delicately across the void. Their movement is patient, dignified, unhurried, leaving ripples that fold seamlessly into the surrounding emptiness. You sense their passage, the subtle effect of motion across the vast expanse, and it carries a quiet, enduring presence, a whisper of persistence that threads through the drift of nebulae. The arcs of galaxies, the luminous pulse of stars. Clusters of stars glow softly, their warmth faint but enduring, radiating light that has traveled for eons to brush gently against the fabric of perception. Each star carries a quiet story, a slow fusion of energy that speaks without words, a persistence that moves through space with gentle dignity. You move with that light, folded into its rhythm, carried by its soft hum, sensing the quiet flow that underlies every motion, every glimmer, every subtle pulse of the cosmos. Dark matter weaves silently through the universe, invisible yet profoundly present, shaping the arcs of galaxies, guiding the drift of nebulae, holding everything in a patient, weightless embrace. You sense its threads as alignment, subtle but profound, a soft scaffolding that allows the flow of light, energy and matter to move effortlessly, carrying you along in harmony with the slow, enduring pulse of all existence. And the void stretches outward, luminous in its silence, vibrating faintly with echoes of formation, migration, and imperceptible motion, each one folding into the next with infinite patience. You rest within that vibration, moving softly alongside the arcs of light, brushing past the drifting clouds of gas and dust, carried gently forward by currents that are unseen yet undeniably present. Soft, unhurried, and endlessly expanding, a current without edge or boundary, carrying the faint glimmer of starlight, the soft drift of nebulae, the imperceptible pulse of unseen forces, all folding gently into one another. The quiet hum of distant galaxies moves past like a slow, unbroken breath, brushing the mind with subtle warmth, threading softly through awareness, carrying a sense of continuity without effort or insistence. You drift alongside it, weightless, unhurried, perfectly aligned with the slow, patient rhythm that flows through every corner of the cosmos. Nebulae curl in delicate, undulating folds, their clouds of gas and dust shifting imperceptibly in slow, liquid currents. Soft glimmers of violet, amber, and gold shimmer faintly, merging and separating in movements that are infinite yet intimate. You sense the quiet flow within them, the gentle folding and unfolding of matter and light, a rhythm that has no urgency, no goal, only the subtle persistence of existence itself, brushing the mind like a tender, slow exhale. A distant spiral galaxy turns with quiet grace, its arms tracing arcs through darkness, light gliding along them in waves that fold softly around invisible centers. You move with its curves, neither reaching nor holding, feeling only the gentle resonance of its rotation, the quiet hum of energy that threads through its spirals and beyond. Touching perception with an intimacy that is both tender and vast, a slow, unfolding grace that seems to fold the edges of time itself. Comets drift across the void, trailing narrow, icy filaments that catch faint fragments of starlight, scattering them softly, reverently. Their motion is patient, deliberate, almost reverent, leaving traces that dissolve into the surrounding emptiness, folding seamlessly into the flow of nebulae, galaxies, and the faint pulse of distant stars. You sense their passage as a gentle ripple, a quiet insistence of motion that threads through everything, subtle and enduring, carrying presence without pressure. Clusters of stars glow faintly, each a small hearth of warmth in the cool expanse, their light traveling vast distances to fold gently into perception. Each star carries the quiet weight of energy transformed and released, not as force, not as claim, only as presence, a patient persistence that touches awareness like a soft, steady rhythm. You drift alongside that light, carried in its calm warmth, folded into its slow, steady resonance, aware of the quiet motion that underlies all existence. Dark matter wins invisibly through the universe, subtle but profoundly present, forming a gentle architecture that shapes the paths of galaxies, guides the drift of nebulae, supports the slow arcs of comets, all without insistence or command. You sense its threads as a soft alignment, a framework that enfolds everything without pressure, allowing light, energy, and matter to flow with gentle coherence. And you drift with it, weightless, moving in harmony with the enduring, patient pulse of the cosmos. And the vast void stretches outward, luminous in its silence, carrying faint echoes of formation, collision, and imperceptible shifts, each folding into the next with infinite patience. You rest within that vibration, tracing the gentle arcs of light, drifting past clouds of gas and dust, brushing along the luminous edges of distant galaxies, carried softly forward by currents that are unseen yet profoundly present, gentle, unhurried, and endlessly unfolding, a gentle current of light, shadow, an imperceptible motion that folds softly around itself, carrying warmth, presence, and quiet resonance across the vast reaches of space. The subtle pulse of distant quasars hums faintly through the void, brushing against awareness like a slow, deliberate sigh, threading through thought without urgency, without effort, carrying the patient continuity of all that exists. You drift alongside it, weightless, unbound, perfectly aligned with the soft rhythm that moves through galaxies, nebulae, and the faint glimmer of stars. Nebulae ripple in slow, deliberate waves, clouds of gas and dust folding over themselves like whispers of breath, hints of amber, violet, and pale gold glimmering softly in the dark. Their motion is imperceptible yet profound, a patient, gentle shaping of forms that are never fixed, never fleeting, only persistent in their subtle evolution. You sense the quiet flow within them, the tender currents that carry creation in infinite patience, brushing the edges of perception like a soft, warm exhale that never ends. A distant spiral galaxy rotates in tranquil arcs, its arms tracing curves that fold gracefully into the surrounding darkness. Light moves along those arcs in waves that fold around unseen centers, carrying the quiet hum of energy that threads through the spiral and beyond. You move with it, not reaching, not holding, only attuning to the subtle resonance of its motion. A presence that is intimate yet vast, a rhythm that stretches the sense of time into something soft, patient, and enduring. Comets drift silently through the void, their tails streaming fine filaments of ice and dust that catch faint starlight, scattering it across the emptiness with delicate reverence. Their paths are patient, dignified, unhurried, leaving traces that fold seamlessly into the larger flow, blending with nebulae, galaxies, and the soft pulse of distant stars. You feel their passage as a subtle ripple, a quiet insistence of motion that threads gently through everything, persistent without pressure, gentle without intent. Clusters of stars glow faintly, tiny hearths of warmth in the cool expanse, their light traveling eons to brush softly against perception. Each star carries the weight of energy transformed and released, not as force, not as claim, only as presence, a patient endurance that touches awareness like a slow, steady heartbeat. You move alongside it, folded into its rhythm, carried by its gentle warmth, aware of the quiet hum that underlies the motion of all existence. Dark matter threads weave imperceptibly through the universe, subtle yet profoundly present, forming an invisible architecture that shapes the slow arcs of galaxies, guides the drift of nebulae, supports the passage of comets, all without insistence or direction. You sense it as gentle alignment, a soft scaffolding that unfolds everything without pressing, allowing light, energy, and matter to flow with effortless coherence. You drift with it weightless, attuned to the enduring, patient pulse of the cosmos. And the void stretches farther, luminous in its silence, vibrating faintly with echoes of formation, migration, and imperceptible shifts that fold into one another with infinite patience. You rest within that vibration, moving softly alongside arcs of light, past drifting clouds of gas and dust, brushing against the luminous edges of distant galaxies, carried forward by currents that are unseen yet profoundly present, gentle, unhurried, and endlessly flowing, folding softly into itself a current of light, shadow, and gentle energy that moves without beginning or end, carrying warmth and quiet resonance across the immeasurable expanse. The subtle hum of distant galaxies drifts past like a slow, continuous exhalation, brushing the edges of awareness with faint warmth, threading softly through thought, carrying the quiet persistence of all that exists. You move with it, weightless and unhurried, a presence entwined with the infinite rhythm that flows through nebulae, spiraling galaxies, and the faint, steady glow of far-off stars. Nebulae curl and ripple in slow, deliberate undulations, clouds of gas and dust folding over one another like silk carried on invisible currents. Soft glimmers of violet, amber, and muted gold shift gently, blending and separating in patterns that are infinite yet intimate, a patient dance without urgency or end. You sense the currents that drift through them, the quiet folding and unfolding, a rhythm that exists simply in being, touching awareness like a soft, continuous sigh, warm, infinite, and unbound. A distant spiral galaxy rotates with tranquil grace, its arms tracing delicate arcs through darkness, light moving along them in soft, seamless waves that fold around unseen centers. You move with those arcs without reaching, without holding, feeling only the subtle resonance of motion. A quiet hum that threads through spirals and beyond, intimate yet vast, a slow, unfolding grace that seems to stretch time into soft, infinite continuity. Comets drift silently through the void, tails streaming icy filaments that catch faint, ancient starlight and scatter it like delicate whispers across space. Their motion is patient, reverent, unhurried, leaving trails that fold seamlessly into the surrounding currents of nebulae, galaxies, and the faint pulse of distant stars. You feel their passage as a soft ripple, a subtle insistence of motion that threads through the expanse, gentle yet persistent, carrying presence without pressure, purpose without urgency. Clusters of stars glow faintly, tiny hearths of warmth in the cold, expansive darkness, light traveling across eons to fold gently into perception. Each carries quiet energy, slow fusion, releasing subtle warmth that speaks without words, presence without claim, persistence without demand. You move alongside it, folded into its rhythm, carried by its soft warmth, aware of the gentle hum that underlies every glimmer, every pulse, every slow, deliberate motion of the cosmos. Dark matter threads wind imperceptibly through the universe, invisible yet profoundly present, shaping arcs, guiding the drift of nebulae, holding the passage of comets, galaxies, and clouds of dust in patient alignment. You sense its presence as soft, unseen structure, a gentle scaffolding that enfolds everything without pressing, letting light, energy, and matter flow effortlessly. You drift with it, weightless, attuned to the enduring pulse that moves through the cosmos, subtle, unhurried, infinite. And the void stretches ever farther, luminous in its quiet, vibrating softly with echoes of formation, migration, and imperceptible shifts, each folding into the next with infinite patience. You rest within that vibration, moving alongside arcs of light, past clouds of drifting gas and dust, brushing faintly against the luminous edges of galaxies, carried forward by currents that are unseen yet profoundly present. Gentle, unhurried, and endlessly drifting, folding softly into itself, a gentle current of light, shadow, and imperceptible motion that carries warmth and quiet presence across the vast expanse. The subtle pulse of distant quasars hums faintly, brushing awareness like a slow, deliberate exhale, threading softly through perception, carrying the patient continuity of all that exists. You move with it, weightless, unhurried, a presence entwined with the infinite rhythm that flows through spiraling galaxies, drifting nebulae, and the faint, enduring glow of far-off stars. Nebulae ripple in slow, deliberate ways, their clouds of gas and dust curling and folding over themselves like the soft sigh of wind across a vast, unseen plain. Hints of violet, amber, and muted gold shimmer faintly, shifting imperceptibly, blending and separating in forms that are infinite yet intimately close. A quiet dance of existence that has no urgency, no aim, only gentle persistence. You sense the currents threading through them, the tender motion that carries creation forward without haste, brushing softly against awareness like a warm, unbroken breath. A distant spiral galaxy turns with patient grace, its arms tracing delicate arcs through the darkness, light gliding along them in soft, continuous waves that fold around unseen centers. You follow its curves without reaching, without holding, feeling the subtle resonance of its motion, a quiet hum threading through its spirals and beyond, intimate yet vast. A rhythm that stretches the sense of time into something slow, tender and enduring. Comets drift silently, tails streaming narrow, icy filaments that catch the faintest starlight and scatter it gently across the void. Their motion is reverent, unhurried, leaving traces that dissolve softly into the surrounding currents, blending seamlessly with nebulae, galaxies, and the quiet pulse of distant stars. You feel their passage as a faint ripple, a subtle insistence of motion that threads gently through the void, persistent yet without demand, present without urgency. Trust as the stars glow faintly, tiny beacons of warmth in the cool darkness, their light traveling across immeasurable distances to fold softly into perception. Each carries the quiet weight of energy transformed, a persistence that speaks without words, a presence without force, enduring in its own slow, deliberate way. You move with that light folded into its rhythm, carried gently by its warmth, aware of the subtle hum that underlies the motion of every star, every galaxy, every soft, deliberate pulse of the cosmos. Dark matter weaves invisibly through the vastness, subtle yet profoundly present, shaping the arcs of galaxies, guiding the drift of nebulae, holding the passage of comets and clouds of dust in gentle, patient alignment. You sense its presence as soft, unseen structure, a quiet scaffolding that enfolds everything without pressing, allowing light, energy, and matter to flow effortlessly. You drift with it weightless, attuned to the enduring, patient pulse of the cosmos, soft, unhurried, infinite. And the void stretches outward, luminous in its quiet, vibrating with faint echoes of formation, collision, and imperceptible motion, each folding into the next with infinite patience. You rest within that vibration, moving alongside arcs of light, past drifting clouds of gas and dust, brushing softly against the luminous edges of galaxies, carried forward by currents that are unseen yet profoundly present, gentle, unhurried, and endlessly unfolding, a quiet procession of light and silence moving together without effort, without edge. The faint shimmer of distant stars drifts past like embers carried on an unseen tide, their warmth barely perceptible yet deeply present, touching awareness in the softest way. The universe breathes in motion so slow they feel like stillness, and you move within that breath, neither separate nor defined, simply present within the flow that carries everything gently forward. Nebulae stretch and thin, their luminous veils sliding across one another in patient layers, colors dissolving into subtler shades, never fixed, never lost. The motion within them is tender, almost protective, as if space itself is careful not to disturb its own beauty. You sense the quiet chemistry unfolding there, particles meeting, parting, rearranging with infinite patience, and the knowledge settles calmly, without thought, like warmth spreading through cool air. Far away, light curves around massive forms you never see directly, bending softly, obeying forces that do not announce themselves. There is no drama in this motion, only obedience to balance, to harmony, to the deep structure that holds everything in place. You drift along those curves, feeling how space itself can be shaped, how direction can exist without effort, how movement can happen without strain. A sparse field of stars passes slowly, each point steady, composed, unhurried. Their distances do not feel isolating, they feel generous, giving each one room to exist fully without interference. Their light carries no urgency, only presence, and as it reaches you it does so gently, as if aware of the quiet state of mind receiving it. Between these lights, darkness opens wide, rich and soft, filled with faint vibrations that hum beneath awareness. It is not absence, but depth, a vast, receptive space where motion slows and sound dissolves. You rest within it, carried by its calm density, sensing how even emptiness has texture, weight, and a kind of kindness. Galaxies pass at the edges of perception, not arriving, not leaving, simply rotating in their own time, each one a slow thought held by the universe. Their motion feels almost contemplative, as if space itself is reflecting, turning ideas over gently, without conclusion. You move alongside that contemplation, suspended in the same patience, the same quiet allowance. And through it all, the subtle pulse continues, steady and unbroken, a rhythm so deep it feels like belonging, carrying you farther into the vast, seamless drift, where light thins, silence deepens, and everything continues to move, softly, endlessly, without ever needing to arrive.